Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Welcome to the PM edition of Crushing Fantasy Football. That's right. I'm going to start having days this season where I upload a video during the day and a video at night because, well, I love football. I want to give you all as much content as possible, and the season is almost here, so I want to make sure that you guys are prepared. So, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be giving you my updated running back rankings, and I'm going to be going through my top 15 and telling you why I have everyone where they're at. So I'm going to start right here with the very first player on my list, and that is Christian McCaffrey. Now, Christian McCaffrey is everyone's number one. This is consensus across the board. There is some risk, but the thing about CMC is, as we saw last year and as we've seen in previous seasons, he has league-winning upside. You win fantasy football championships with upside. Christian McCaffrey has upside, and he has the ultimate upside, right? Because, he's in what's projected to be the best offense in the NFL. He's one of the most talented running backs in the league. He has the entire backfield all to himself as long as he's healthy, and he is an elite pass-catching back as far as target share and reception efficiency. So at the end of the day, Christian McCaffrey is the best fantasy running back as long as he's healthy and on the field. Although I feel like there's some injury risk and he is a little bit older now, he's still only 28. It's not like he's 30. It would be a little bit different if he was. And at the end of the day, we can't predict injuries. They still tend to be incredibly random no matter how much we try to predict them. So at the end of the day, Christian McCaffrey, we have to have him number one. Next player on my list is going to be Breece Hall now. I made a video earlier today talking about Breece Hall versus Bijan Robinson. I much prefer Breece Hall. I just do. I mean, this is a guy who last season was the running back 3 with terrible quarterback play and an overall bad offense, and he didn't even really get cut loose until week 5, not to mention he was just coming off his torn ACL. So now you look at him, he's 2 years removed from his torn ACL. We have an improved quarterback situation, significantly improved quarterback situation. I mean, night and day, you go from, Zach Wilson and whoever else they could throw on the field to Aaron Rodgers. And, I mean, that's just night and day difference. He now has one of the best quarterbacks of all time to throw him the ball, and he is an elite pass-catching back. I love the upside for this offense. I think they're going to exceed expectations. They've been smashing everyone in training camp. Breece Hall is going to go ballistic. If he was a running back 1, wouldn't be surprised. Next player on my list is going to be Bijan Robinson. This is a guy who elite upside, elite talent, great prospect, improved quarterback situation, much like Breece Hall. We have to see that they're not going to split the timeshare between these two. I'm hoping that they don't use Tyler. I almost forgot his name. I hope they don't use Tyler Algier too much, right? I'm hoping that this is Bijan Robinson's backfield altogether. If so, he's going to smash. Next player on my list is going to be Saquon Barkley. Now, this is a guy who, you look at him and, he still might be the most talented running back in the league. It's just that he's been running behind a terrible offensive line for years and been playing in a terrible offense with the biggest joke of a quarterback in the league in Daniel Jones for years now. And this is not a recipe for success for running backs. He was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage on every play for the past 3 seasons. Now we put him in a good offense with a quarterback that poses a rushing threat and a very, very good offensive line, a far better offensive line than he's ever played behind. I am very excited to see what this dude's capable of. And if he goes nuclear this year and smashes every other running back, don't be surprised. Next player on my list is going to be Kyren Williams. This is a guy who was absolutely elite last season. He's going into an offense that should be improved with a healthy Cooper Kupp. Got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, DeMarcus Robinson. This is an absolutely loaded offense with one of the most slept-on quarterbacks in the league and Matt Stafford to lead the offense. And I love the upside for this offense as a whole. I think that Kyren Williams has the backfield all to himself for now. I wouldn't worry about Blake Corum. I think that people are worrying about him a little bit too much. This is still Kyren's backfield. He's going to be getting 80% of the workload unless he gets hurt. And I really think that Kyren Williams is going to explode this year because of the volume and because of playing in a great offense. And he is a much better talent than everyone likes to give him credit for. Next player on my list is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, playing in what's projected to be one of the best offenses in the NFL. This dude's going to absolutely explode. Yes, we have to worry about David Montgomery cutting into his opportunity share a little bit, but he's basically going to be there to just run the ball up the middle and kind of bruise up the defense so Jahmyr Gibbs can come in for the explosive plays. Jahmyr Gibbs is already said to, be getting more goal line opportunities this year, so he's going to be getting scoring opportunities, a lot of high-value touches, and a very good offense, an explosive player, and elite offensive line. There is nothing that Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't have. This dude is set to absolutely explode. Next player on my list is going to be Travis Etienne. Obviously, we want to see the Jaguars take a step forward on offense this year, but Travis Etienne proved last year that Despite the offense not being as good as expected, he is an absolute volume hog. Volume is key in fantasy. This dude's going to be touching the ball so freaking much that he just has to be a top 10 running back. Next player on my list is going to be Devon Achane. Now, this is the all-time NFL leader in yards per carry efficiency. Obviously, a very small sample size. Totally, utterly, absolutely 100% unsustainable yards per carry efficiency. But this dude can average over 5 yards a carry throughout the course of his career. I very much believe that he's that explosive of a back, and we know how well speed operates in this Miami Dolphins offense. Look for Devon Achane to take a step forward in year 2 and absolutely explode this season. Next player on my list is going to be Jonathan Taylor. I am not as high on Jonathan Taylor as everybody else is. I think that basically, I think that he's just being overvalued a little bit. I mean, you look at Anthony Richardson, and he's going to siphon so many rushing touchdowns away from Jonathan Taylor. It's not going to be funny. And I know that, you can say the same thing about Saquon and Jalen Hurts, but the difference between these two is that I think the Eagles are going to be a significantly better offense. So the amount of times they're in the red zone is going to make up for the fact that he's getting, some touchdowns siphoned by Jalen Hurts. Whereas Jonathan Taylor, I'm not as confident in the overall offense. So if he's getting touchdowns siphoned, his red zone scoring opportunities might be few and far in between or not as plentiful as people think. And so if he's getting rushing touchdowns siphoned, which he will, it's not a good thing. Next player on my list is going to be Isaiah Pacheco. Now, if there's one player on this list that bites me, it's going to be him. He's an elite player in an elite offense. They're going to be using him heavily. I love Isaiah Pacheco to absolutely explode this season. If he finishes way better than the running back 10, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the touchdown upside is through the roof. He has an outside shot to lead the NFL in touchdowns. I just don't think that he has the same ceiling as, some of the players going ahead of him because of the fact that this is going to be a pass-first offense. Next player on my list is going to be Derrick Henry. Now, this is a guy who has not shown to slow down at all. This dude keeps seeming to defy father time, right? I mean, he just absolutely just goes off every single season. Even with the bad offensive line, like he had one of the worst offensive lines, if not the worst offensive line in the league last year, still went off and, had a pretty darn good season, at age of 29. So, you put him in a backfield with an actual mobile quarterback who's a threat to run the ball. I think that Derrick Henry should go off. He's one of the top projected running backs as far as touchdowns in the league. I think that he's going to get in the end zone a lot. I think the big playability is still there, and the big playability should be even better with the threat of Lamar Jackson in the backfield. Next player on my list is going to be Josh Jacobs. Now, this is a guy who is playing in an elite offense. He's set to be the clear-cut workhorse. We know that this offense is a four-headed monster, a wide receiver, a great quarterback in Jordan Love, who just got the bag. This offense should be very, very good. Josh Jacobs is going to be the benefactor in this. Look for him to find the end zone often and score you a ton of fantasy points. Next player on my list is going to be Alvin Kamara. This is a guy who is looking more and more like he's going to head his backfield, right? I mean, you look at Kendre Miller, having the injury in the early offseason. It was already starting to look like Alvin Kamara was going to have the backfield all to himself. The efficiency has gone down for Alvin Kamara a little bit, and I am a little bit concerned about the offense. A player like this, it gets this kind of passing volume and has this kind of talent, even though he's not as efficient as he used to be, he's still a very talented back. Normally, I would have them much higher in fantasy, but I just don't trust the offense, and the efficiency has shown to go down a little bit in recent years. So we're going to have to temper our expectations on him a little bit, but he's definitely one of those running backs that could far exceed his ADP. Next player on my list is going to be Kenneth Walker. Now, this is a guy who is extremely explosive. He's probably the most dangerous running back in the entire NFL in open space. This offense is one of the most, it's a very unpredictable offense. I feel like they could be one of the better offenses in the league or, the average middle of the pack. But Kenneth Walker is an extremely explosive back. It looks like he's going to get the majority of the workload again. I love Kenneth Walker this season. He's good enough to be a top 15 back. Next and final player on my list is going to be Joe Mixon. Now, this is a guy playing in an elite offense. He does have talent. He's, going to be in a better situation than he was in overall just because this Texans offense is going to go nuclear. I mean, they're just going to absolutely explode. I understand he's coming from a good offense in the Bengals, but they had their struggles last year. I do not see Houston struggling this year. I think that Houston's going to move the ball at will. CJ Stroud is one of the top MVP potential candidates for Vegas for a reason because this is one of the most loaded offenses in the NFL. Joe Mixon should benefit from this. I love Joe Mixon this season. Not as much as the backs I have ahead of him, not like as a top 10 back or anything like that, but he is good enough to crack my top 15. All right, appreciate it, guys. Catch you later.